Hey everyone, Yasin here, and welcome to another episode of Pointy Chins where I take you through my art journey. Alright, so here is Madra, the goddess of war, and she's part of my Wraith universe with the 99 Deva, I call them, eventually. Right now I'm still calling them goddesses. And I kind of struggled with her because I was kind of developing a shape language and a way of designing my characters. So kind of finding what armor to use and make sure they all fit. And this one didn't really fit. So first I tried this version and then I wasn't really happy. And I tried this just with a different brush. It's called an old brush and the sketch looks like this. And I just added some color. And the idea was maybe to subdue it, make it a bit more dull. And I kind of liked the brownish armor, and I thought maybe like brown leather could work. And I was also exploring things like this, I think it's called a Gorget, and trying to figure out what would work. But I realized that I didn't really know much about them. I was designing them without being informed, and that's a very bad idea. So I realized, okay, yeah, I shouldn't do that. Let me do some studies. So I looked up some Gorget or Gorget, I don't know how to pronounce it. And I found different kinds. Some were made out of leather, some were made out of like metal. And I actually preferred the leather ones a lot more. And so here's one I did from a study, and then I tried to immediately draw it again. Like I hid this and draw it from not from reference, from memory. And then I showed this layer again to check, like, did I get it? And I think that's a good way of solidifying the information in your mind. I actually didn't like how it was asymmetrical here, so I changed the design a bit. And that's something you can definitely do. Here's Temba, the god of clouds. And for him, here you might notice like a little thing. This is what I do first. I want to block in the big shape of what he is. And he felt like a very boxy thing, in my mind anyway. I had him as a very boxy character. And I wanted to have a Mongolian feel. And so I tried to go in that direction and give him kind of clothes that felt sort of Mongolian-like. And I wanted him to look very friendly and kind and gentle, but also a bit strong. You know, like he's not a pushover, but he is rather peaceful. And so I also chose like the blues, so he would kind of feel like overall I wanted the feeling to be sort of on the white-ish color scheme, but in shadow white often looks blue, and so I wanted to use that to make it still sort of feel like he's clouds. And here's revisiting Madra. So this time I used the leather Gorget, and I think these are Spalders. I don't know what this is called. But this felt a lot more like it was in keeping with the other Wraith designs I had done. And that was very important because I want them to feel unified. And that's a very difficult thing, especially for me, because I don't know, I haven't done that many characters before. Like 99 characters is a lot in a world, so or more than that actually. So just making them feel like they belonged was really important. So first I did this, then I cut off in a very bad spot, which is around the knees. You don't want to cut off there. Usually a good place to crop an image is maybe mid-thigh, mid-calf. If you're including the head, include the shoulders and stuff. But anyway, I just took this and then I finished out the design, gave her some boots. And I kind of wanted to show how she uses her weapons. I figure she has a lot of weapons, but I included some like kunai type things, and then a big knife that she keeps in this sheath. not sure if it's a sheath or a scabbard or what you would call it. But anyway, I'm not great with the technical terms of armor and weapons and stuff. And I figure, like, oh, maybe she jumps and, like, throws the kunai and then stabs you and, like, jumps and spins and stuff. I don't know. And then here's just some guys. So often when I do, like, these things, they might not look like they take a while, but they take quite a while. Definitely, close to 3 hours for these two. And then I get pretty tired in that span, so I take a break and I just draw, random stuff before I actually get to working. And then I got an interesting commission, which was someone commissioned me to do a group image of Galu, the Deva of Rainbows, Teia, the Deva of Strength, and Wraith together. And that was really cool because I've never had someone commission me to do, like, my own characters. So I wanted to do a good job on it, and I was trying to think of compositions. So I started with this. I thought this one kind of works. Wraith is the shorter of the two because Teia's, like, humongous. I wanted her to be very big and strong, and I wanted Wraith to be big and strong, but Teia to be even bigger and stronger. So here's just Galu in the middle, flanked by the two. I thought, okay, maybe I can try something different. So I zoomed in closer on them to emphasize their size, and I had her more like a full body. I thought, okay, there's drama and action in this, but maybe I can have it so they're sort of all in the frame and you see more of their body instead of this one where you don't see much of Teia's body or Wraith's. Then I thought of like a composition kind of like a lightning bolt. You can see their heads, or maybe like a Z type shape. Yeah, and so that's a pretty useful way, I think, of getting compositions. You just kind of put the heads down on a curve or in like a pattern, and then then draw around them. And here I had a kind of a swooping curve for the head. So Galu in the back, then Teia, then Wraith. Here I had Teia, then Wraith, then Galu. But again, you can see how it's on a kind of an opposite, an inverted C shape, or like a boomerang shape or something. That's kind of what I'm going for. So it creates like energy and movement. And here too, keeping that same shape with, the same characters, but in different size relationships. And here I thought, maybe Wraith's like in side view. So, because I wanted to think of, or I wanted to have a bit more variation. What if I put one person in side view, one person in front view, one person, and I guess two people in front view. Here I had more of the camera being very low, and I felt that was interesting. So we're kind of looking up at them, which maybe makes them more heroic. But again, if you look at their heads, they still follow this curve. And same here, and same here. It's here we do the opposite curve, like a C shape with Teia in the front, which is different, and Galu in the back. And here it's kind of Wraith and Teia back to back, and Galu here. And that was quite taxing. Plus, I had a very bad day, so I ended up switching personalities for the other drawing of the day, and he decided to draw this. Normally what happens is when a different personality comes out, they have different styles, and they start to draw. Often, I get involved after to spend time and try and render what they've drawn or something. This time, I decided I'd just leave it. And that maybe, because this really wasn't long to create, but maybe it would be more powerful if I left it alone. And I'm kind of glad I did. So here's the image that I settled on with Wraith and Teia back to back. I kind of used Galu's hair to create a frame for them. I can't say I'm super happy with the result. I think I would do it differently now, but I did put in quite a bit of effort at the time. I did try my best, so I don't know. It's okay, I guess. Here are some faces. Just made some random squiggly shapes to begin with. So this guy was probably just some like weird shape. And then I just turned them into faces. Getting, some of the caricature stuff in there. Playing around with smudge here and there. This one's pretty funny. These, I think I like these 3 the most. The bottom 3. Top 2 are okay. And then here I was trying to, again, let a personality draw what they wanted, but not get involved. And it was kind of hard because I kept seeing, like, the brushstrokes weren't going with the form. And so this flattened out a lot. Would have looked a lot better, I feel, if the brushstrokes were really going with the form. Like this, these wrinkles are pretty much horizontal, but this is at an angle. So it would have been better if these wrinkles were at an angle and then it curves. So you'd see the box, like the corner of this head. But anyway, I think it's still better that I don't get involved and let the personalities just do what they want. And then I was curious about painting again. And, what can you do? Did some study. I didn't really like it. And I did another study, again, which I didn't really like. And then I did these, which I hated. I hated this one, and I felt so bad about it that I thought I could try again, just take it and try and salvage it in whatever way I could, but I don't think I managed to succeed. So yeah, I'm really, really not happy about this day's work, but you get those days. I mean, the part I like most out of this whole thing is maybe that circle, that's that ball. Otherwise, really, really unhappy with this. So yeah, letting other personalities take over. The same one that did that red creature did this one, and then this one was used. I used like a weird brush. It looks like this in Procreate, and then I used it on the face too, but at a lower opacity for the shadows. It looks okay, I guess. I'm not 100% sure about these ones. I feel like I don't really have the right to comment about them much because they're not really, it doesn't feel like they're mine, but that a part of me comes out and just draws them, and then, okay, that's that. All right, well, I don't have much to say. And then here's one where I'm trying to do paintings and I'm not really good at it. So yeah, the proportions are kind of wacky, but it kind of looks like there's parts that are okay. Some of the roughness. I think that's the main exploration, is just trying to be super rough. But I was playing around with Lysa. I wanted to do another image of her full body, and I was thinking of doing more like an illustration of the characters. But I hated it. I thought I did an awful job, and looking at it now, I still think I did an awful job. I like the water here. Like, that's about it. That's all I really like. Some of the water droplets are okay. Maybe this shape is kind of interesting. But otherwise, it just felt really clumsy. And it felt like she was posed in a very stiff way. Her proportions are kind of not great. And I don't even know if I got the likeness right with her. I do think like some of the shiny things on her armor are okay. But overall, I wasn't really happy with this. I tried one of Avencia, again, trying to create this shiny texture on like the kind of like a gel type texture. That's how I think of it. Like if this was actual clothing, I imagine it would be some kind of synthetic thing that is like a rubber or latex type thing, but it's kind of transparent and it's got a gel inside. And that was the idea behind that one. She has like her finger syringe thing. She's the Deva of Blood. And here's an Aaron, who's the guy who becomes Wraith. And I wasn't really happy with the arm at all, but I thought I tried to create movement with the leaves, try and have them follow a flow. If you look at that, it's got a bit of a flow to it. And I would say out of the two, I prefer the Aaron for sure, other than the arm. But it's okay, I guess. So, thinking about that commission that I did with Galu, Teya, and Wraith, I thought, well, I used 3 characters. That was kind of interesting. Maybe I can do that again. And so I tried it with demons, a young demon, a female one, a male one. And I liked them for the most part, but I screwed up the arm again. Like it felt off, and then I started panicking. I was thinking, I don't remember anatomy. I don't know what I'm doing. In terms of the colored versions, I still like their colors. I like their patterns. I like the idea behind them. Like his face is kind of cool. I like her face. I like this guy's face. He looks sneaky, kind of mischievous, and I like that. So there's parts of it that I like, but parts of it that I don't. But I really tried to make a thing that I would like. And I was thinking, okay, let me try to crosshatch. Don't know why. It just occurred to me that maybe I should try to crosshatch. I think when I get lost, I just start grasping for things, like things to learn, because I guess I'm comfortable at learning. I'm used to the feeling of being a noob and sucking and then trying to slowly get better at a thing. So I did the sketch first with a pencil, and then I copied it and I lowered the opacity, and then I tried to ink over it with some cross-hatching lines, but it didn't really work out. I wasn't I think this is really ugly. So yeah, I tried to do a demon that was more painted this time, and trying to do it in Procreate, where I'm still experimenting with how much I can paint in this software. And I mean, of course, you can probably make beautiful paintings, but I wanted something that I could create quickly and effectively, and I don't think I did a good job of that. So all this despair was really making me get depressed, and when I get depressed, I tend to switch more often. And so the one that did the red image and the other image came out again, and okay, he's using like an old, I think it's called old brush. Anyway, yeah, and he's using that to draw, and I don't know, these give me kind of, especially this one, gives me a very uncomfortable feeling. It makes me think of like a stillborn fetus or something. I don't know, but definitely don't get a great feeling from this. But I suppose as art, they are expressive, so that's good. So here I'm in full-on panic. I seem to have forgotten all my anatomy. Maybe I never knew it to begin with. My brain feels completely fried. And yeah, I definitely felt this way. Felt like I forgot how to draw. Things were just falling apart. So I don't know if you struggle with this too. You have like art blocks or what, but I've been through enough that I know they pass. So however bad I'm drawing, I tend to not take breaks and not like, well, I'm not gonna draw for a few days or a week or something, and I'm just gonna take a break from art. I wonder if that works. Maybe it does work. I imagine it could work, but I just don't do that because I'm so stuck on my routine. For instance, this page is number 1881. So that means I've done 1881 days in a row of drawing, and I don't want to like not do it because that feels like a waste. Then I've broken my streak. So then, at night, tried to draw again, create a face. It's okay, I guess. And then I thought, okay, let me learn anatomy. So, I have a lifetime membership to New Masters Academy, and I thought, okay, let's put that to use. And I started watching Ray Bustos anatomy lessons, which I very much recommend. Here's the spelling of his name, Ray Bustos. Yeah, I find him really, really helpful. He explains anatomy in at least for me, it's a very easy to understand way. And it's not that I don't know anatomy. It's more like I found I need refreshers, because especially if I don't use it, I tend to forget it. And it's like the use it or lose it thing. And because I tend to use it in some ways over and over again, I start to rely on symbols in a way. So I'm not really thinking about all the muscles. I'm just used to drawing an arm in a certain way. And then when I don't draw it in that way, I get stuck. And it's hard for me to visualize or to see things in 3 dimensions. So I can't just, think back and what does a thing look like? If I try and imagine what an arm looks like, I have no memory of it. I can't imagine anything. It's all black. Like if I close my eyes and someone says, imagine an elephant. I imagine for most people, especially most artists, and I've talked to people and they confirm that indeed they would maybe see a flash of an elephant, and maybe it's like 80% visible. It's not quite all there. It's maybe not accurate, but they still see something. But for me, I don't. I just complete darkness. So with that, I go into panic, and then I try and think of things like, okay, but surely I don't need to see something to understand it. I just need to know how the muscles connect. And so, here I'm doing the side of an arm, trying to think, okay. So I'm trying to draw this all from memory, where get the scapula, the collarbone, the humerus, and then try and put the muscles on top and kind of remember how they go. The proportions are suffering. There's no gesture in this, but that's not the point. And actually, I think it's important not to worry about that stuff when you're just focused on anatomy. Just focus on anatomy. So here, try to draw Shai, the Deva of Ice, and I really hated it. It came out super stiff, super stretched in these proportions. I was kind of going for like the super long stretched torso thing that I know artists like Maddie Blitz, for instance, do this super well. And I don't know. This is barf to me. I drew this guy, and he's also, I don't know, maybe not complete barf. I mean, I like the ear. I like how that was rendered. That's quite nice. So some parts of it are okay. I definitely like him better than her, though. But it is, again, I'm not sure, because I wasn't happy with it. I don't know what other people would think if I just showed them. But for me, yeah, definitely not happy. So I thought, okay, I'm really sucking. I seem to have forgotten everything. I can't make appealing things anymore. Figure drawing. Let's do figure drawing. That's what I used to do, right? Just trying to figure out what did I used to do, because sure, I was better than this. I'm not this bad, right? And then I know there's a lot of people who would probably say, no, you are, dude. But anyway, so I did some figure drawing, and that too was hard. But I had to remember I am very rusty with figure drawing. I haven't done this in a while, so try not to beat yourself up too much and just try again. So these were all 2-minute poses, which, I mean, for 2 minutes, this isn't very good, but I mean, I've had experience doing a lot of figure drawing. So maybe if you're just starting out, this might be good for 2 minutes, but when I was doing a lot of figure drawing, this is not so good for 2 minutes. Maybe 1 minute, maybe 90 seconds. This is okay. So yeah, doing more figures, and it did get a bit better. So that's the thing. By not getting too like I want to give up, it does help. And I think this is something I've really learned more as I've gotten a bit older, which is that when you feel like you want to give up, if you just keep going anyway in spite of yourself, and you just get through that super shitty period, there's usually light at the end of the tunnel, and it's usually very worth it. It's a good thing that you get through it. So I do think it's very important to have this thing where you hit the wall and then maybe get knocked down and then get back up and then hit the wall again and keep hitting it. Get up as much as you need to, and then break through, and trust that at some point you will break through. And that's what I tell myself. Like, as much as I don't have a visual memory, as much as I don't have a lot of things when it comes to art, I can just it's got to work somehow. Like, my brain's got to be able to figure it out. So I just have to keep doing it. So I did some more figure drawing and really focused on not so much style, but more getting the figure down, getting the pose down. Maybe not the likeness, but definitely the pose. And then I gave Shy another try. And, you know, this one still has some issues, but it's way, way better, in my opinion, than the one I did before. Or at least I like it more than the one I did before. I think this is a brush as well in Procreate called Bokeh Lights. And I like how shiny the ice looks. You know, the design is iffy. I'm still working on design. I'm still not a great designer by any means, and I have a long way to go. But I was satisfied with, you know, how shiny the hair looks. That's nice. So that's okay. And because I was doing figure drawing, I figured, you know, I should keep doing that. So here's some men. I was drawing a lot of women. There's a few women here too, but predominantly it's men for this one. I think I actually did the male only in the figure drawing website I was using, which I believe was Line of Action. It's called Line of Action, and it's online. You can do like free figure drawing. And I did all the men they had, and then I ran out of images because I guess they just don't have that many male images. So then I had to do female images to finish the page because I ran out of men. And then here I'm trying to do the anatomy thing again. Again, the proportions went to hell. The appeal went to hell. I don't know what's going on here. And because of this, it sent me again to a depression, which is why there's a lot of these faces. Because I get depressed, I switch, and then the other me doesn't draw this stuff. He draws like weird stuff, abstract stuff like, what is this? I don't know, but you kind of get the feeling, at least I get the feeling of something kind of in pain, suffering. Yeah. So I wanted to revisit, like, I got Shy better on the second time, the Goddess of Ice. I wanted to try Lysa again. And I thought, okay, I want to do these illustrations that are good, but I clearly don't have enough experience doing like pinup type work. So I decided to look up how do people do this. And I don't know if someone told me, but they go out, like, people like boobs and stuff. So, okay. So I looked up some ecchi images, and I looked at the poses, and I tried to just draw the character based on kind of what I was seeing. So these aren't the drawings themselves, but sort of like looking at a lot of thumbnail images. I think I opened up Google Images, and I think I just had typed ecchi in it, and then there were tons of like just images of girls. All of them pretty much had big boobs and were often showing their butt and boobs and stuff. And so I thought, okay, let me try and learn. And I kind of felt a bit gross doing it, to be honest. It just didn't feel like me. It felt like I'm trying to do something. But anyway, I thought I need to get more popular. I felt I need to promote Wraith. I believe in the thing. I want it to be something, so I kind of have to get over my own feelings of I'm not comfortable doing this. And I've been feeling that more lately, especially when I get, financial troubles or whatever. It's just things aren't as smooth as they were before I committed to Pointy Chins, for instance. I was getting a lot of work before doing realism, and when I switched to finding my own style, the work dried up pretty quickly, and people weren't as interested. Like, the style I was going for, something more like an anime style, it's not really... I thought it would be kind of accepted, but it wasn't really, and I also was not nearly as good as I thought I was in this because I didn't have experience, so I feel like I'm in a lot of ways starting at a very low level. and then slowly working up. And because I keep switching and I have different personalities who want to do different things, I can never seem to remember or have things stick. Kind of like the anatomy, I'll spend years and years learning anatomy, even teaching anatomy, and then I won't be able to remember anatomy, and it's kind of bad. So anyway, I did this Lysa again. I'm not super happy with it, but I guess at least it looks more like the original design of Lysa. So there's that. And I decided to color it. I wanted to give that watery feel again. A lot of this is just done with a glow, a layer set to add, and then in brackets glow, or linear dodge, I think, is the same thing. So yeah, that's just how I get the shiny stuff, and the rest is, just blur. Put some brush marks here and blur them to make it feel like bubbles. And then switch and draw different things. A lot of frustration this month, and I tend to have months where, for most of the month, maybe it's like 3 weeks of like these really bad weeks in a row. I often have like a string of good ones and then a string of bad ones. Here I wanted to try and do thumbnails again myself without looking at Ecchi or other stuff, and just see, can I make cooler images? Kind of trying to use my own brain. And what I discovered is, in this case, I started with this little swirly thing in the background. And when I start with anything in the background, like I create the frame and then I put anything, it becomes easier to imagine a character in that scene, and then I tend to draw the character smaller. Like if you look at this ratio, so you got like, this is the frame and then this is the character. Well, when I don't do that, the character tends to fill up the frame. But when I do put something in, they tend to be within the frame. And I noticed a lot of really good artists, when they draw, if I really look at the negative space, there's tons of negative space. But there's also the ones that do these types of like close-up ones as well. So I think both work. They've got different feels, a feeling to them. But yeah, I think if you're going for something more intimate, just make the frame and put the character in the frame in an interesting composition. And if you're going something that shows off a scene, draw like something to make it feel like a scene, and then when you draw the character, it'll probably be smaller. I also found stretching implies speed, so just stretching the characters. And I know they do this sometimes in anime where they kind of stretch characters. Here I tried to do another demon. I'm not super happy with it. I think it looks a bit stupid. It's just all facing pretty much the same direction. But I thought the face is okay. I kind of liked his expression anyway, but maybe not much else. And I thought, let's do some more thumbnails. So this is just the starting one, tends to be pretty bad. The perspectives are off. And here I was thinking about Wraith again, like a shot with 4 figures maybe this time. And so that would be like Galu, that would be Wraith. I don't know who these other two were. Probably did know at the time. But yeah, I kind of like the multi-figure compositions, and Jetty Jet from the Jetty Jet show, he does a lot of these multi-figure compositions and does a really good job of them. I remember there were a lot of Capcom posters that had like multiple figures, and they're done really cool. I think Akiman did some. Anyway, they're cool and I like them. Here I was just thinking of like if there was some text or logo or something, where would it be? Make a character here. I'm trying to foreshortening and make it dynamic. I don't think I succeeded. It just feels too stiff. Too many straights in this, and then this one curve, which isn't... I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. I wanted to draw try to draw a Dragon Rider dude. Here's a guy looking at a fairy thing. Here's a space guy in a suit. Another multi-figure composition. just some guy walking down a hallway, but this really, I wasn't happy with that. A character, they're all over the place. Again, I was very lost, so I was just jumping from thing to thing. Just more drawings, more trying to figure something out. Struggling the whole way. So hey, let's do some more figure drawing. So more figure drawing. Not a great day, but whatever. 2-minute poses, and then more composition. So here I'm trying, how many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 character composition. And yeah, just thinking about negative space a lot. Like, what would be an interesting shape for the stuff that is not the character? I don't know. Tried to do some environment thing, and that didn't really work out. Looks like something, but I can't tell what. And then like this robot guy, he's okay. I don't mind him, and I don't mind this guy either too much. This wanna fight guy. And here I did Sumil, the god of finance. I already drew the head, so I just wanted to draw like how the rest of him. Kind of how I think of him. I have an accountant called Sunil, so this guy's kind of based off that guy. Looks pretty similar, but his name is slightly different. And then I saw this fighting game. It was a Let's Play thing, and it was for... I misspelled it here. I wrote Yatagasaru, but it's Yatagaras. And the R and the S should be switched. The character's name is Hanzo. And I just saw this one combo video where it was just showing the different combos. And I really liked the style. I realized like I really liked this style. And it reminded me of Xenogears a lot, which I am a huge fan of. And a very simple face. You can't really see the nose. You just get like the indication of the nose. And it felt like, you know what? I bet most people, what they would do is they would see something they like and they would say, hey, that's something I like. I want to learn how to do that. So I'm just going to do copies of it and try and figure it out and just stick to that. Whereas I tend to have stupid thoughts. I think things like, well, first of all, I might switch personalities, and then every personality, one wants to be a painter, one wants to do this, one wants to do that, one wants to do realism, one wants to do cartoony stuff, one wants to do caricature, one wants to do anime stuff. It's all over the place. But I figured, okay, let me just try to study this as much as I can and see if anything happens. Because usually it doesn't really carry over. But often I have a lot of problems with the styles. But I really like this one. I thought, you know, especially for this character, Hanzo, she's my favorite character from all the characters I've seen. I haven't played it, the game, but I just saw some things. And it's like, yeah, I liked her movements, and I like her proportions. I like how she looks strong. That's always been really appealing to me, like making a strong character, which doesn't necessarily work all the time with when it comes to like doing commissions for people, because a lot of people just want like sexy stuff and not so much strong. But anyway, I drew these, trying to get the motion. I thought it was really cool. They always have an S curve, or almost always, with like these cool gestures. And yeah, so I did some more studies, just breaking it down. So just watching the video at 0.25 speed and then pausing it all the time, because in a fighting game, the poses change super fast, so within frames. I suppose I can also download it and then just kind of slow down the video. But anyway, so yeah, I like a lot of their poses. Some of the in-between ones, like this one, I'm not a huge fan of the pose, but it was interesting to see, like, oh, okay, so some of the in-between ones kind of look weird, but then in the motion they look cool. And then again, just weird personality doing whatever he wants. And I wanted to continue. I didn't want to give up on the Hanzo study, so I kept going. And I do like the way this is shaded. I just use the HB pencil, but I'm using an Apple Pencil on an iPad Pro with Procreate. And just using like the side of the lead, you get this kind of shading like a real pencil. So these three were from reference. And then I did these two, and then I did this one. And this one's, the idea was that I wanted to create something from imagination, not from reference, but I wanted to look at it and kind of like someone gave me the task of draw the character in this, like, in a different pose, but it still has to look like the character and it still has to look like it's from the game. I don't think I did a good job on that. But it was a good exercise to try and remember, like, oh, okay, how would they do it? How would they do it? But it wasn't cool enough. Like, if you look at this thigh, it's very small compared to this one in terms of proportion. The thighs tend to be a lot bigger. And I noticed that the in-between poses look pretty awkward. And then this one, again, another personality came out because these are pretty tiring for me to do. And then, okay, draws his thing. And then here I thought, okay, so here I get tired after like 4 drawings because it takes a long time and I'm shading them and I'm really trying to analyze the thing. So maybe I should draw more, but more loose. So I'm not using so much energy, but I'm getting more poses down. So first I did this one, which is again pretty detailed. And I thought, okay, let's just screw it. This is taking too long. Let me try and get more and more poses. And this is kind of what you do with figure drawing. You draw a lot, and the point is to build up over time. So you want to not necessarily capture the drawing. Like it's not necessarily a good drawing of the person in that pose. Like when the figure drawing starts and you have a person in a pose, or if you're using a website and the picture comes up, if you're doing short poses, it's not about getting this guy perfectly or this girl perfectly down. It's about drawing as best as you can. And the way I do it is I actually kind of draw as if it's from memory. Like I glance at the image, or I look at it. Sometimes I stare at it for a few, maybe 10, 30 seconds. But then I try and draw as much as I can remember. And then I'll look up only to see, like, did I get it right? Did I get it right? And like maybe I'll just for this one, for example, I'll draw like the leg, and then I'll try to draw as I think it should look, or I think I remember it, which I don't really remember it, but I try and draw like what would it look like, and then I just glance at the thing to see, oh shoot, I got this wrong, and then often you don't have time, so it's the next pose comes up. Okay, the next time you try again, and then maybe you make the same mistake or a different mistake, but you're kind of getting an inventory of all your mistakes, all the places you're kind of going wrong. And so I think it's really useful to, rather than trying to make a pretty picture or like, it didn't look like the guy. Instead, it's like, no, try and do it from your own head as much as possible and use the reference as a way of testing yourself, like kind of like the answers at the back of a textbook, where it's kind of letting you know, okay, you tried, you did the best you could, but actually this is what it should have been. So anyway, this is kind of why I thought, okay, do more poses. And I, unfortunately, looking back at it, I can't say I remembered much of this, but I still think it was a healthy and a good thing, just because it taught me to chase the things I like more. And it was still even hard for me to look at this and be like, I was just staring at the fight scene. I was thinking, oh, this is really cool. And to think that, oh, I like this. This is cool to me. This is cool. This is maybe something I should be trying to get myself, instead of just admiring it and thinking, because a lot of times I admire artwork that other people do, but it doesn't mean I'm going to do it myself. But sometimes it really should mean that. Like sometimes it means, hey, you know what? You might not do exactly this, but learning how to do this is not going to be a bad thing for you. So here I just did another set. This one I was trying to capture every frame. So, I mean, I don't know if this would actually work if it was animated, probably not. But the idea was kind of that, trying to analyze, okay, what happens? And then, okay, they shift weight, then they move. And then this one was interesting how, okay, so you would think you start at a standing position, then you go in for the kick, you're gonna kick, and then you kick. But they don't. They kind of jump up and then kick. But it creates more impact. And they do that here too, where they're going to do another kick, and they create this sort of rising energy, and their leg, all their movements going this way, like towards the right, but then they put their leg to the left to build up like more energy, and then boom, you let go. And I think the building up to the left kind of is the pro part of it, where it's like, oh yeah, you really got this feeling. Because I did a bit of martial arts when I was younger, but it's not necessarily all this way where like you don't jump and do, well, I didn't anyway. I was doing Taekwondo, so there was lots of jumping and kicking, but it doesn't look exactly like this. But it just looked cool. It was like, well, it doesn't matter that it's not perfect. It looks cool. Here's Erza, the goddess of wind, deva of wind. I kind of like her. I always liked her, even from the first drawing. I thought she had this interesting personality where she looks kind of complex as a character, even though she's kind of simple as well. But I want people that I draw to look like they're thinking. And this person kind of looks like they're thinking. They're not just a drawing. It's like, no, behind this there is an actual person with thoughts and feelings and hopes and stuff. And I felt the proportions got a lot better after doing these. The hips kind of got shorter. I kept stretching them out before, and this time it's like, oh, it's a bit better. It's going in the right direction again. And so I did more figure drawings, but after doing all those Yatagaras images, the figures, I was trying to draw in that style, kind of like with the big hips, big thighs, very powerful, muscular proportions. And I was still trying to do the figure drawings, but kind of move them towards that. And I felt it was working, you know. And I learned something. And what I learned was this, that if I start with a head and I go into the neck, because what I used to do is I used to draw like the head and I'd go down. And this is actually something I learned from Bob Meatbag. He told me, like, go from the shoulders, up the neck, over the head, and then back to the shoulders, like create this big one form. And it was really good. It helped me a lot. But then I found that I'm not thinking about the shoulders well. So here what I did is I create kind of like a bowling pin shape. I just go around the head, go right into the neck. So the head and the neck are connected. And you can kind of see it in these, how the head and the neck sort of are connected, and then you go down to the crotch. So anyway, you start with that, then I add the shoulders. And the reason I do this is because before, and I've seen this a lot with people, but they simplify the head like a circle. They connect the neck as a cylinder, and then they have like a box for the torso. Or maybe like a box for the upper torso, a box for the pelvis, and sort of a circle in between. But the problem with boxes is then you put the shoulders on the outside of the box, but they don't really fit that way. Because if you think of the rib cage, it's got more of like this type of shape to it. So it gets narrower towards the top, and then it widens out. But then the shoulders fit in that. So if you think of the box, if I thought of this ribcage as a box, the box would kind of go in the middle of the shoulders, not like the shoulders are on the outside of that box, but rather that they're on top of the corners in a way. Does that make sense? Anyway, so yeah, I start with this, add the shoulders, then I add the midsection. So it's kind of this part gets added. So I just draw this and then I add this. But when you add it together, it creates sort of another position. So here is the flexible part, this middle diamond where all the organs are. And then on the outside, it's more rigid. Here's more rigid. Then I add the legs. Now there's a bunch of different ways of simplifying the figure. And in the next episode, I'll show you a bunch of different ways to simplify the figure. But there's like infinite ways, I think. And one of the ways is to kind of view, like if you imagined her wearing underwear, and then this part of the leg would all be, like that's where the leg starts. And I think of it that way, but I also sometimes think of it this way, where the legs attach, especially when the leg raises up. It feels like kind of works more this way. But anyway, there's a bunch of different ways of simplifying, and then I add, the rest of the legs, hands, feet, and any details that need to be added. And yeah, okay, so not great, but it kind of walks you through the way I'm thinking about the figure now. It's quite different. And next month, it's changing quite a lot because this month was super painful. And I definitely wanted to give up so many times. Just, I hate this. I don't know anything. I feel like I'm going nowhere. I'm getting worse. But next month, it really turns around. And you could see, at the end of this month, after I started those Yatagaras studies, things were starting to turn around. So, yeah, I hope you join me for that. And I hope this helped. And thanks for watching.